The arena lights flashed across thousands of excited fans as the crowd roared in anticipation. It was one of the biggest martial arts exhibition events of the year, and every seat in the massive stadium was filled. Cameras moved across the audience while commentators hyped up the main attraction of the night, a young, undefeated champion known not only for his skill, but also for his bold and confident personality. Inside the ring, the champion paced back and forth, soaking in the applause. He grabbed the microphone and began entertaining the crowd, bragging about his victories and claiming that no fighter in the world today could truly challenge him. The audience cheered loudly, enjoying his energy. But then, his confidence slowly turned into mockery. Smirking, he shouted, "I bet there's not a single person in this arena brave enough to step into this ring with me." The crowd laughed, thinking it was all part of the show. Meanwhile, sitting several rows back in the audience was a man who seemed completely uninterested in the spotlight. Dressed simply in dark clothing, he watched quietly, almost invisible among the excited fans around him. It was Steven Seagal, attending the event privately, hoping to enjoy the fights without drawing attention. He wasn't there to perform or prove anything. He was just another spectator, or at least, that's what everyone thought. Suddenly, the champion's eyes scanned the crowd and landed on Seagal. Seeing a calm, older man sitting relaxed while everyone else cheered, the champion grinned mischievously. Pointing directly at him, he said, "Hey, you! Yeah, you sitting there looking bored. Why don't you come down here and show us what you've got?" The camera zoomed in, and the crowd burst into laughter, assuming the man would refuse or panic under pressure. Seagal looked around briefly, almost confused that he was being called out. People nearby nudged him, smiling and encouraging him to respond. Sometimes, life places us in unexpected situations where we are judged before anyone knows who we really are. Appearances can be deceiving, and not every quiet person is weak. Tell us honestly in the comments, do you think it's fair to judge someone just by how they look? As the crowd waited for his response, Steven Seagal slowly began to stand up. And in that moment, the entire mood of the arena started to change. As Steven Seagal slowly stood from his seat, the people around him began cheering and laughing, thinking he was simply playing along with the show. The arena cameras quickly focused on him, displaying his image on the giant screen above the ring. Some fans waved, others recorded on their phones, expecting an entertaining but harmless moment. Inside the ring, the champion laughed confidently. He clearly believed he had just picked an ordinary audience member for fun, someone who would step in, joke around, and quickly leave after a playful exchange. "Come on down," the champion shouted. "Let's see if you've got any moves, sir." Seagal hesitated for a moment, raising his hands slightly as if to politely decline. He hadn't come to fight. He was there to enjoy the event quietly. But the crowd began chanting, urging him to accept the invitation. "Let him fight! Let him fight!" People nearby encouraged him, smiling and clapping him on the shoulder. Some fans were already recording, sensing a funny viral moment. With a calm expression, Seagal finally nodded slightly and began walking toward the stairs leading down to the arena floor. Security guards looked uncertain but allowed him through as the audience applauded. The commentators laughed, assuming the champion was about to give the crowd a light-hearted demonstration against a volunteer. Meanwhile, the champion continued to hype himself up, pacing around the ring confidently. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced dramatically, "tonight we've got a brave volunteer from the crowd. Let's see how long he lasts." The audience roared with laughter. Seagal climbed through the ropes slowly, his movements relaxed, almost casual. There was no anger or nervousness in his expression. He simply stood there, calm and composed. The champion circled him, throwing playful shadow punches in the air, showing off his speed and athleticism. To the crowd, it looked like a professional fighter preparing to spar with a random spectator. But something about Seagal's posture felt different. He wasn't tense or intimidated. He looked completely at ease. Some fans in the audience began whispering, "Wait, he looks familiar. Is that who I think it is?" Others shrugged it off, assuming it was just someone who resembled a famous figure. The champion, still unaware, leaned closer and said loudly into the microphone, "Don't worry, sir. I'll go easy on you." The crowd laughed again, expecting a quick and funny encounter. Sometimes, confidence makes people forget to look closely at who stands in front of them. Underestimating someone can turn into the biggest mistake of all. Before the action continued, the commentator addressed viewers watching around the world. Before we go any further, tell us in the comments, which country and city are you watching from right now? Let's see how global this audience really is. Meanwhile, inside the ring, Seagal calmly removed his jacket and handed it to a staff member, revealing nothing flashy, just a simple black shirt. No dramatic preparation. No aggressive stance. Just quiet readiness. The champion cracked his knuckles and grinned, clearly enjoying the attention. The referee stepped closer, unsure whether this was still part of the show or something more serious. The crowd buzzed with excitement, unaware that the next few minutes would completely change the atmosphere of the entire arena. And just as the champion prepared to make his first move, a strange tension began spreading through the audience, as if some people were starting to realize this situation might not go the way everyone expected. The arena lights seemed brighter now, and the laughter that had filled the stadium moments ago slowly began to fade. What started as a playful challenge was turning into something much more serious. Inside the ring, the undefeated champion bounced lightly on his feet, rolling his shoulders and throwing quick punches into the air to excite the crowd. Across from him, Steven Seagal stood completely still. No flashy movements. No attempts to impress anyone. His hands rested calmly at his sides, his posture relaxed, almost casual. To many watching, he looked like someone completely out of place in a fighting ring. The champion smirked. He walked in a slow circle around Seagal, trying to intimidate him. "You nervous?" he asked loudly, making sure the microphone picked it up. Seagal didn't answer. He simply watched the fighter with calm eyes, his expression unchanged. The crowd chuckled at the silence, but something felt different now. The usual excitement before a fight was replaced by curiosity. Why wasn't this man reacting? The champion decided to increase the pressure. He stepped closer and threw a quick fake punch near Seagal's face, stopping inches away. The audience gasped. But Seagal didn't flinch. Not even a blink. A few people in the front rows exchanged confused looks. "That guy didn't even move," someone whispered. Phones were now fully raised across the arena as fans recorded what they thought would soon be an embarrassing moment for the older man. The champion laughed again, trying to keep control of the situation. But inside, he felt slightly annoyed. Usually, opponents reacted. They got nervous, defensive, or aggressive. This man did none of those things. Instead, Seagal remained calm, almost as if he had seen this scenario many times before. Meanwhile, whispers started spreading through sections of the audience. "Wait. I swear that's Steven Seagal. No way. Why would he be here? It looks exactly like him." The rumors moved from row to row. Some younger fans didn't recognize the name, but older martial arts enthusiasts leaned forward, suddenly interested. Still, the champion didn't notice. His focus was entirely on showing dominance. He decided to end the joke quickly. "All right, sir," he said loudly. "I'll show you how fast this fight could end." He turned toward the referee, signaling he was about to make his move. At that moment, Seagal finally adjusted his stance slightly. It was a small movement, almost invisible, but to trained eyes, it was significant. A few people in the crowd who practiced martial arts sat up straight. "That's not random," one man murmured. "That's trained." Real experience often hides behind calm behavior. The loudest person in the room isn't always the strongest. Sometimes, true power stays quiet until it's needed. Before the action resumed, the commentator's voice broke the silence. "All right, be honest. Who do you think takes this right now? The young undefeated champion, or this calm stranger in the ring? Comment your prediction before the first real move happens." Across social media livestream chats, viewers started choosing sides. Back inside the arena, the champion lunged forward suddenly, trying to grab Seagal's arm to spin him around for a flashy move that would impress the crowd. But once again, something unexpected happened. Seagal shifted slightly, his movement so smooth that it almost looked accidental. The champion's grip missed completely, causing him to stumble forward awkwardly. The audience gasped. The champion quickly regained balance, pretending it was intentional, but embarrassment flickered across his face. Now the laughter in the arena had disappeared. Something serious was happening. Seagal still hadn't attacked or even looked aggressive. He simply stood there, relaxed, letting the younger fighter burn energy. Confusion began spreading through the audience. Why wasn't this man scared? Why did the professional fighter suddenly look unsure? The champion's pride was now on the line. Feeling the pressure, he prepared to attack again, this time with real speed. The referee stepped closer, sensing the mood shift. And in the crowd, more voices whispered the same realization. That's Steven Seagal. The tension in the arena reached a boiling point. Everyone felt it. Something unforgettable was about to happen. The atmosphere inside the arena had completely changed. Just minutes ago, the crowd had been laughing, expecting nothing more than a light-hearted moment between a confident champion and a random spectator. But now, tension hung in the air. Inside the ring, the undefeated fighter circled Steven Seagal again, this time more cautiously. The failed attempt to grab him had shaken his confidence slightly, even though he tried not to show it. He rolled his neck, pretending everything was still under control, but his eyes were sharper now, studying the calm man in front of him. Seagal, meanwhile, remained relaxed. His breathing steady. His posture loose but balanced. He looked less like a confused spectator and more like someone completely comfortable in the situation. In the audience, whispers were spreading rapidly. "Bro, that's Steven Seagal. It has to be. No way. Is he really here? I grew up watching his movies. That's definitely him." More and more people pulled out their phones, zooming in on the giant screen above the ring. Social media live streams exploded with comments as viewers at home began recognizing him as well. Yet, strangely, many younger fans didn't fully understand the significance. To them, Seagal was just an older man standing against a modern, athletic champion. Inside the ring, the champion still hadn't realized what was happening. He assumed the crowd's reaction was simply excitement building before he finished the encounter. He smirked again and spoke loudly, making sure everyone heard him. "You okay, sir? We can stop if you're scared." A few nervous laughs echoed, but they quickly faded. The mood no longer supported the joke. Seagal simply looked at him calmly, saying nothing. His silence seemed to irritate the champion even more. Meanwhile, at ringside, commentators began whispering among themselves. One of them leaned closer to his microphone. "Hold on. I'm getting word from production that the gentleman in the ring might actually be martial arts legend Steven Seagal." The comment wasn't officially announced yet, but nearby staff members started reacting. Security personnel exchanged surprised looks. Event organizers rushed to confirm the information. The rumor was becoming reality. Respect often comes late. Many times, people don't realize who they're dealing with until the situation forces them to pay attention. Back in the stands, excitement surged again, but now it carried a completely different energy. Fans who recognized Seagal began cheering loudly. "Seagal! Seagal! Seagal!" The chant spread slowly, confusing others who hadn't caught on yet. Inside the ring, the champion finally noticed the change in crowd behavior. He frowned, looking around. "What's going on?" he muttered to the referee. The referee shrugged, just as confused. The champion turned back toward Seagal, suddenly unsure. For the first time since the challenge began, doubt appeared in his expression. "Wait, do I know you?" he asked cautiously. Seagal simply gave a small, polite smile. He didn't announce himself. He didn't brag. He didn't demand recognition. He just stood calmly, allowing the situation to unfold naturally. And that calmness unsettled the champion even more. The audience now buzzed with anticipation. Some fans stood on their seats trying to get a better view. Others excitedly told their friends who Seagal was. The commentators grew louder as confirmation finally arrived through their headsets. But the official announcement still hadn't been made. Inside the ring, the champion tried to regain control of the moment. "All right," he said loudly, forcing confidence back into his voice. "Legend or not, everyone's the same inside the ring." The statement earned a mix of cheers and nervous reactions. Seagal nodded slightly, acknowledging the fighter's words. His expression remained respectful. He still hadn't made a single aggressive move. The entire arena felt frozen in anticipation. Everyone sensed that the next exchange would change everything. Have you ever underestimated someone, only to realize later how wrong you were? Tell us your experience in the comments. The champion cracked his knuckles again, trying to shake off the pressure. Sweat now formed on his forehead, though the fight hadn't even truly started. Across from him stood a man who looked completely unfazed. A man who had spent decades mastering discipline, patience, and control. The crowd grew louder by the second, chants building as phones recorded every angle. And just as the champion prepared to attack again, the announcer's voice began to echo across the arena speakers. The truth was finally about to be revealed. The arena seemed to hold its breath as both men stood facing each other in the center of the ring. The announcer's voice had just faded, and the crowd buzzed with anticipation. Cameras zoomed in from every angle, capturing what everyone sensed was about to become the defining moment of the night. The champion rolled his shoulders, trying to calm himself. Moments earlier, he had felt completely in control. Now, doubt lingered in his mind. The whispers from the crowd, the calmness of his opponent, and the failed attempt to grab him had planted uncertainty. Still, pride pushed him forward. He couldn't back down now. With a determined expression, the champion stepped forward, this time serious. No playful movements. No mockery. He launched a quick combination, a fast jab followed by a powerful attempt to grab Seagal's arm, hoping to spin him and put him on the mat in a dramatic display of dominance. But what happened next stunned everyone. In one smooth, almost effortless motion, Seagal shifted his body slightly to the side. His hand guided the champion's wrist, redirecting the force of the attack rather than stopping it. The movement was so subtle and controlled that it almost looked accidental. Yet, in an instant, the champion lost his balance. His own momentum carried him forward, and before anyone fully understood what had happened, he found himself on the mat, staring up at the arena lights. The entire arena gasped. For a split second, there was complete silence. Then the crowd exploded. People jumped from their seats, shouting in disbelief. Phones shot into the air as fans tried to capture the replay moment on screens above the ring. The champion quickly rolled and stood up, shock clearly visible on his face. He wasn't hurt, but his confidence had been shaken. He looked at Seagal as if trying to understand what had just happened. Seagal, meanwhile, hadn't moved aggressively. He simply stood calmly, hands relaxed, as if nothing unusual had occurred. The referee stepped closer, stunned. Even the commentators struggled to explain what viewers had just witnessed. That was pure technique, one commentator said, voice full of amazement. No brute force, just perfect timing and control. The champion clenched his fists, embarrassed. Determined to prove himself, he rushed forward again, this time with more speed and aggression. But once again, Seagal remained calm. As the champion lunged, Seagal redirected him again, guiding his movement and lightly sweeping his leg. The result was immediate. The champion stumbled and dropped to one knee, barely catching himself before falling again. The message was clear. This was no ordinary spectator. The laughter from earlier in the night was completely gone. In its place stood respect and shock. The champion slowly stood, breathing heavily now. Sweat dripped down his face, not from exhaustion but from realization. He had underestimated the man in front of him. And everyone in the arena could see it. Sometimes the strongest lesson in life comes not from being defeated, but from realizing how much more there is to learn. Experience, discipline, and patience often defeat raw strength and ego. Seagal still hadn't tried to hurt him. He hadn't thrown a single punch. Every move had been defensive, controlled, almost instructional. The crowd began chanting again, this time not mocking, but cheering. Seagal! 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 The champion looked around, confusion mixing with embarrassment. For the first time, he truly understood that he had walked into a situation he didn't control. Inside, frustration and humility battled for control. Finally, he raised his hand slightly, signaling a pause. The referee stepped between them, unsure whether the encounter should continue. Seagal simply nodded respectfully, showing no sign of arrogance or victory. He wasn't there to humiliate anyone. He had simply responded. The arena atmosphere transformed from excitement into admiration. What do you think matters more in a fight? Physical power or experience and technique? Share your opinion in the comments. The champion wiped sweat from his face, glancing once more at the calm man before him. At that exact moment, the announcer's voice prepared to speak again, ready to confirm what much of the crowd already knew. The truth about the quiet man in the ring was about to be announced to millions watching around the world. And the champion was about to learn exactly who he had challenged. The entire arena was still buzzing after the shocking exchange in the ring. Fans were on their feet, phones raised high, replaying the moment when the undefeated champion had been effortlessly redirected, twice, by a man everyone had assumed was just another spectator. In the center of the ring, the champion stood quietly now, chest rising and falling as he tried to process what had just happened. Across from him, Steven Seagal remained calm, his expression respectful, almost as if nothing unusual had occurred. Then, suddenly, the arena speakers crackled to life. "Ladies and gentlemen," the announcer's voice boomed across the stadium, "we have just received confirmation about the gentleman who stepped into the ring." The crowd instantly fell silent, anticipation hanging in the air. The announcer continued, his voice growing louder with excitement. "Please give a huge round of applause to martial arts master and action film legend, Steven Seagal." For a split second, there was silence. Then the arena exploded. Fans screamed, cheered, and jumped from their seats. The giant screens displayed Seagal's face, and recognition spread instantly among those who hadn't realized earlier. The chants grew louder than ever. "Seagal! Seagal! Seagal!" Inside the ring, the champion's eyes widened. His confident expression disappeared, replaced by disbelief and embarrassment. "You're Steven Seagal?" he asked, almost under his breath. Seagal nodded politely, offering a small smile. There was no arrogance in his face. No victory celebration. Just calm acknowledgement. The champion looked down at the mat, shaking his head slightly as realization hit him. Moments earlier, he had mocked the man in front of thousands of fans, thinking he was just another random spectator. Now, he understood the mistake. The referee stepped back, allowing the moment to unfold naturally. Cameras zoomed in, capturing every reaction. The champion slowly extended his hand. I didn't know," he admitted. "I'm sorry if I was disrespectful." Seagal immediately shook his hand and gently patted his shoulder. "It's all right," he said calmly. "This is how we learn." The crowd applauded even louder, impressed not only by Seagal's skill but by his humility. True masters never need to prove themselves. They teach through actions, not humiliation. Real strength is knowing when to show power, and when to show grace. At ringside, event officials and fellow fighters smiled, impressed by how the situation had resolved. The atmosphere that began with laughter and mockery had transformed into respect and admiration. Seagal turned slightly toward the audience as the microphone was handed to him. He spoke calmly, his voice steady despite the roaring crowd. "Martial arts isn't about ego," he said. "It's about discipline, respect, and control. We're all here to learn, no matter how long we've been fighting." The arena responded with thunderous applause. Even the champion nodded in agreement, humbled but grateful for the lesson rather than humiliated by it. Meanwhile, social media feeds exploded. Clips of the moment were already spreading worldwide, with fans praising both the unexpected encounter and Seagal's calm demeanor. Before stepping out of the ring, Seagal turned once more to the champion, offering a respectful bow. The younger fighter bowed back, showing sincere respect this time. The tension from earlier was completely gone. Now, the ring held two fighters connected by mutual understanding instead of competition. The commentator addressed viewers watching live around the world. "Let us ask you something. If you were in the champion's position right now, would you apologize like he did, or would you try to continue the fight? Tell us honestly in the comments." Back inside the arena, security and staff prepared to escort Seagal back to his seat, but fans continued cheering, many still stunned by what they had just witnessed. The champion, once the center of attention, now stood quietly, absorbing the lesson of humility in front of thousands. And as Seagal stepped through the ropes, the announcer prepared to speak again, this time about the impact this moment was already having online. Because outside the arena, millions of viewers were just discovering what had happened. And the story was only getting bigger. By the time the event ended that night, the moment inside the arena was already spreading across the world. Videos recorded by fans flooded social media platforms within minutes. Different camera angles showed the same unforgettable scene, The confident champion challenging a quiet man from the audience, only to be calmly and effortlessly outmaneuvered. Hashtags began trending globally. Sports channels replayed the footage repeatedly, analyzing every movement. Martial arts experts praised the technique, explaining how Seagal had used balance and timing rather than strength. But what impressed people even more wasn't the technique. It was the humility. Across the internet, fans commented on how Seagal never tried to embarrass the younger fighter. He didn't celebrate or mock him. Instead, he showed calm control and respect. Inside the arena, long after the match had ended, spectators were still discussing what they had witnessed while leaving their seats. "I thought it was going to be a joke," one fan said while walking out. "Man, that champion learned a lesson tonight," another replied. Backstage, reporters gathered, hoping to interview both men. The champion eventually appeared, still thoughtful but composed. When asked about the encounter, he spoke honestly. "I let my ego get ahead of me," he admitted. "I thought I was just having fun with someone from the crowd. I didn't realize I was standing in front of someone with decades of experience. But I'm grateful for the lesson." Clips of his response spread just as quickly as the fight itself. Many viewers respected him even more for admitting his mistake publicly. Meanwhile, Steven Seagal quietly left the arena without making a scene. He declined interviews, simply nodding politely as fans thanked him outside. To him, it had never been about proving anything. The next morning, sports programs around the world covered the incident. Headlines read, "Champion shocked after challenging Steven Seagal in audience." "Crowd goes wild as martial arts legend teaches lesson in humility." Online discussions exploded. Some debated how modern fighters compare to traditional martial artists. Others focused on the importance of respect inside and outside competition. Martial arts schools shared the clip with students as an example of discipline and control. Moments like this remind us that real strength isn't just about winning fights. It's about character, humility, and knowing when to use power responsibly. Days later, the champion posted a message on social media thanking Seagal for the experience. He promised to focus more on discipline and respect moving forward. The post gained millions of likes, with fans supporting his honesty and growth. Seagal, on the other hand, made only one short public comment through his representatives. "Respect your opponent, respect the art, and always keep learning." The message spread quickly, becoming a quote shared by martial arts fans worldwide. After watching this story, what lesson do you think is most important? Humility, respect, or experience? Tell us your opinion in the comments. The video eventually reached tens of millions of views. For many viewers, it became one of those rare viral moments that felt both entertaining and meaningful. Inside that arena, what started as a joke ended as a powerful reminder. Never judge someone too quickly, and never let arrogance replace respect. And for the champion, it wasn't a loss. It was the beginning of becoming a better fighter, and a better person. If you believe true strength comes from respect and humility, type respect in the comments, and subscribe for more inspiring stories like this one.